Well, for the past 29 years, I've been the executive director of a nonprofit environmental and public health group, Citizens Campaign for the Environment. So I'm considered an expert in environmental protection, public health, protecting our drinking water, our air, and our land resources. So through that work, I've done a lot of work in Albany, a lot of work with elected officials on all levels of government, town, county, state, federal. And my skill set has really been to bring government and the public together to fight for something that is beneficial, and that's our health. I want to really fight for working class and middle income people. Too many elected officials in Albany have lived a very privileged lifestyle. 80% of the Senate, for example, are attorneys. Nothing wrong with attorneys, except 80% are attorneys, and that doesn't reflect the diversity of life experiences that we have here on Long Island. And government should look like the public. That's how they write good laws to protect us and to make sure our lives are better and become improved. You know, everywhere I go, people are saying, nothing ever changes, and they're very delusioned with government. And so what I can tell people is, when you vote for people who care about people, then things will change. So who we elect matters, and we have to elect people into government who actually care about us, will fight for us, and want the same things we do. And I've been asked to run before, and I said no. I work with the nonpartisan group, I work on issues I love. I love protecting the public's health. But then when the seat became open, I really had to give it serious thought as an opportunity to fight for the public and be the public's voice in the Senate. Something I don't think we have right now. We implemented it wrong. It was a disaster. We can't do that in our schools. So we need to hit the reset button, bring teachers and parents into the discussion, and figure out how to make it work. I'm proposing we get the teachers and the parents in the room with elected officials and come up with a process everyone believes will work. Teachers believe it can work. It's just not working the way they implemented it. The teachers weren't prepared, the parents weren't prepared, the students weren't prepared, and that's why it's failing. And that's why our kids are failing. The whole objective is to teach the kids, right? A Common Core wants to teach children critical thinking. Well, that's good. But the way the state did it was wrong.
So in other words, it's not something that you will fight to change right away?
No, I'll fight to change it right away.
Oh, okay.
Fight to change the implementation so it will be successful in the schools, for kids, for students, and for parents.
$10.10. Is that enough?
Well, I support the legislation that allows for each county to set the minimum wage at what they believe is the right amount. 10.10 is a good starting point. I support that, but I'd like to hear some other input about what might be the exact right number. I think it's beneficial to raise the minimum wage because anybody working a 40-hour week shouldn't be struggling to put food on the table. And frankly, minimum wage jobs, we know that 66% of them are held by women. And many times it's women of color. And when women struggle, the family struggles. When the family struggles, the children struggle. So raising the minimum wage helps to stabilize families, helps us to become healthier and happier, and that makes our communities grow. Well, to me, that's a violation of the law. Why are we paying people who go to work less than minimum wage? If they get tips, great, but it should be on top of the hourly wage that meets a minimum standard, a government standard. The whole system is wrong. When you get a job, you should expect a certain minimum amount in your paycheck. If you get tips, if you have a job that gets tips, that's great. But it shouldn't be that you get paid less because you get tips. Tips are not reliable. Equality Act ensures equal pay for equal work. We know that women in New York State are being paid about 77 cents on the dollar for men. But Afro-American women are being paid about 70 cents on the dollar, and Latino women are being paid 67 cents on the dollar. It's a very big discrepancy, and yet it's the year 2014. Why is that? I'll tell you why. Because we don't have enough women in elected office making the rules. We still have such things as discrimination while becoming pregnant in the workplace. How is that allowed? Here's a hint, too. Women don't become pregnant by themselves, and yet we're discriminated in the workplace upon the announcing that women are pregnant. I support it because investing in our children is investing in our future. When children are educated, we break the cycle of poverty. They become taxpayers, they add to the local economy, they strengthen the community. I believe that the DREAM Act is not an expenditure of funds, it's an investment of funds. When other state senators tell you it's a budget issue, it's not a budget issue. It's not. They don't get it. Having people get educated and become a fabric of our society is a good thing. Paying taxes, buying goods and services, owning homes, strengthening communities and families, that's what's supposed to be what New York and America is about. It's a financial problem. It's not a moral problem. Number one is, look, we know immigration on the federal level, the laws, really the federal government has stopped really dealing with it. This has really been caused by a lack of federal leadership on the issue. But number two is, the children are here. So I've spoken to a lot of the teachers, I've spoken to the school superintendents, and all they feel, and what they're saying is, we need to get federal dollars in order to integrate children into the school system so we can educate them properly without causing our current children in the system to be held back. So if the federal government has a failed immigration policy, the least they can do is provide federal dollars to the districts that are now having to pick up the slack.
I mean, actually, the Congressman Steve Israel and Peter King, they have asked for funding.
Yes.
The federal level. They presented a bill, I believe. But this is to get emergency funding for the study.
Yes.
Is this the kind of answer?
I think it's one big answer. As I said, I've spoken to a lot of people in the school system. They feel if they had more money, then they could reduce the class size and give the children the attention that they need to achieve. Well, honestly, I think that what we don't have enough, and I've seen this firsthand, is levels of government working together. The state can and should work with the federal government. They're not two separate countries. They're different levels of government in one country. So they're working with Peter King, working with Congressman Israel is essential. Our state leaders don't do that enough. They don't work with the federal government. This is one problem with work with one set of answers. So government shouldn't segregate itself. It should unite itself to find those answers. So I would work with all levels of government to bring the resources we need to our communities to solve the problem. The reason I also think it's important is because these children are here. They're already in the school system. No one is sending them back. So when we help them, we're helping all the children in the school system. And we need to realize that. It's not just helping children who came here illegally or by no fault of their own, but it's helping all our children because they're all in one school system now. So funding helps us achieve the goal of education in all of our schools right now. Illegal dumpers come in to a park where children play. They dump illegally over the span of 9, 10, 11 months. The investigation's still going on. And the Town owns the park, they do nothing, they say nothing, they claim to have seen nothing. That's impossible. The public is saying that they called the town did nothing still. This is the largest toxic waste dumping scandal in the history of Long Island, and it happened in a public park. I've looked at the cleanup plan that the town has proposed. It is weak. I'm shocked. I would have thought, because of all of the attention being paid to this toxic waste, the town would put forth a superb cleanup plan. That didn't happen. They put forth a plan that doesn't protect the public, doesn't ensure cleanup, and doesn't get the job done. It is truly, truly disappointing and pathetic. Number one is it doesn't protect the community from airborne contamination. So when they're cleaning it up, they have to make sure that the asbestos and the petroleum products and the pesticides and the heavy metals don't become airborne, which means float out into the community so community members can breathe it. The plan doesn't protect them from that. It doesn't protect the groundwater, which is the water that we drink. It only has 2 wells to look for contamination. They need at least double that, if not more. And then worst of all, after it supposedly is cleaned up, they want to take the soccer field and only test in 5 places. And if they don't find contamination, they want to wipe their hands of it and say they're done. The soccer field is 4 acres. You never would suggest you only do 5 little spot checks for contamination. That is truly criminal. So I have written extensive comments that I'm submitting to the DEC. I'll be testifying on it. We need to make sure when those children go back into that park and play on those fields that they are not becoming contaminated. They are not becoming exposed to chemicals that will hurt them. These chemicals are very serious. They're known in the scientific literature to cause breathing ailments, liver ailments, immune system problems, reproductive problems, nervous system problems. You have to really make sure that these chemicals are not becoming airborne. The park is right in the middle of a community. There are houses literally feet away. We can't just do a cheap job of protecting the public. We have to do an adequate job of protecting the public. And we have to do a good job.
Do you think the town of Islip is rushing on this issue, on the process of cleaning the park?
Yeah, I think the town of Islip is rushing on the issue. I think they want to minimize the political impact of this issue, and that's wrong. There are times when you put politics aside and you put the public first, and the town's not doing that.
How responsible do you think is the town of Islip? Do you think they are one of the responsible? I mean, they haven't accepted the responsibility. They said they have been helping the DA to do their investigation. I believe they even said they're going to do their own investigation, but we haven't seen anything till now. So how responsible do you think is the town of Islip on this issue?
Well, you can't investigate yourself. We know that that's a remedy for corruption, right? And I think we're going to let the DA, the district attorney, do their job, and we'll understand who's responsible. But let's look at the facts, shall we? The DA has come in and seized all of the employment records in the town of Islip. We know that Tom Croce, when he became the supervisor, put political leaders on his transition team. He put the head of the Conservative Party on his transition team. And then he crumbled like a stale cookie and put cronies in key positions in the town. All of those cronies have been fired or resigned because of the illegal dumping in the park. This does not bode well for someone who's supposed to be serving the public. I've been on 3 transition teams. They never included political boss leaders. In fact, the whole idea of a transition team is to bring together people who have talents and skills that are outside the political process, so you can govern in a way that serves all the people. The community needs to come together and have one voice. That's how other communities do it. When people band together from different areas of the community but speak with one voice, that's when you get political clout, and that's when you literally and figuratively don't get dumped on anymore. And the people in Central Islip and Brentwood are wonderful people. I've had such a wonderful time meeting all of them and talking to them. But they're going to need to work together collaboratively and work together to really fight together and put aside differences but put forward their commonalities so they can speak with one voice. Well, you've covered it very well, but thank you. But the last thing I just want to say is I think that one of the problems we have in Albany is we have so many elected officials who have lived a very privileged lifestyle. And we don't have enough people there who have grown up in a working class and a middle income life, who know what it's like to go to work every day, who know what it's like to count their sick days because they don't want to use them all, who know what it's like to have a complete problem when there's either no babysitter or the kid has a test at school and you've come home late and you need to study with them. People who are making our laws don't understand our lives, and that's why the laws don't reflect our lives. I'm not running for office because I want a job or I need a job. I'm not running for office because I want the next rung in the political ladder and have a political end game. I really am running for office to represent the public and to be the public's voice in a very elite group of people who've stopped listening, stopped learning, and sometimes stopped caring. We want to get our government back. Well, elections matter. Who we put in government really does matter. And the way that the public can help is come out and vote.